Hello everyone and welcome to this webinar on test prep by Inside IIM. I hope your preparations are going great. With 3 months remaining for CAT, most of you might have started giving mocks. One problem a lot of you might be facing is fluctuating or low mock scores. However, don't worry, you are not the only one here. I'm Arpita and today we have with us two students from IIM Calcutta, Somesh and Nishanth, to share with us their experience and how they navigated their journeys as they were in your shoes last year. So you can also put up your questions in the chat and we will pick them up in the course of the webinar. So welcome Nishanth and Somesh. Thank you for being here. So to start, please tell us a bit about your background, your education, work ethics.
Sure. Thank you, Arpita, for inviting us to the session. So let me start by telling a bit about myself. So I am Somesh Sharma. I undergraduated from IIT Jodhpur in mechanical engineering, the batch of 2019. So after my graduation, I joined L&T in the proposal and estimation department, wherein I worked for 35 months. During my last year, I have wrote CAT, wherein I got a score of 99.86 percentile. And so after that, I have joined IIM Calcutta, where I'm currently right now. So that was a bit about myself. Over to you, Nishanth.
Yeah, so thanks a lot, Arpita, for inviting me. So I am from NIT Allahabad, 2017 to 21. I did my undergraduation in chemical engineering. After that, I worked in Excel Advisory as an interest rate derivative trader. And during my work, I started preparing for CAT 2021. And this was my second attempt, basically, where I secured 99.81 percentile. And my best call was IIM Calcutta, which luckily I did convert it. So yeah, here I am today.
Thank you, Nishanth and Somesh. So can you tell us when did you decide to pursue an MBA and why did you think it was necessary?
Right. So whether to give CAT or not, there is a bit of a story about it. So when I joined my company in 2019, so during the first year itself, there were many workers or colleagues with me who were preparing for their MBA or were planning to give CAT. So when I looked upon them, so I knew that I would be doing that once during my maybe once I complete 2 year or 3 year in my job. So initially my job was very they were very challenging. There were many challenging opportunities for me as in my job. But once I spent 2 years or 2.5 years, so the job was kind of keep on getting monotonous. So when I thought that let's pursue the dream of my MBA, which I had from the start itself. So I decided to write CAT that time when I was in my third year of my job. So that was sorry, I couldn't get the second part of the question. What was that? Can you please repeat again?
Why did you think MBA was necessary at that point?
Right. So so as I told you, I wanted a high challenging and high challenging job. This was my first reason, and the second reason was that I thought that I'm made for a career, and I wanted a career growth, and I really wanted to solve some challenging problems. So that's why I thought that these opportunities will be available for me after my MBA. That's why I wanted to do this 2 year MBA.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. So in my case, basically, I decided to do MBA in a final year. Like when I was in final year, I kind of knew that tech-oriented jobs are not for me. Basically, when you do 4 years of engineering, at least you realize that. So in that year, actually, I gave CAT just to check where I stand among the crowd. I didn't prepare too well. And then when I got job and when I started working in job, I had to start preparing for CAT along with the job. And I think then I was very much hell-bent that I have to do MBA, and that is why I worked hard for it. And the reason I thought MBA is better for me is but two reasons. One is that MBA obviously gives you a better job prospects, better growth, I mean, compared to UGs. And that too, if you do MBA from top tier colleges like IIM Blackie and all. So this definitely helps you even in terms of, the amount of money you can get. I think this is something which people don't speak a lot publicly. So I think there are two aspects. One is the growth rate when I enter into the corporate, and second was I wanted to be more or less, to become a good MBA graduate from top 10 colleges. So I think that is one of the key reasons why I wanted to do MBA.
Got it. I'm sure a lot of our audience members can relate to this. So now at this time last year, you were in the same boat as our audience is today. So please share what was your mindset during this time, and were you confident about your preparation? Were you nervous? And how did you feel about your preparation?
So right now that we know about 3 months are remaining to the CAT. So I started my journey 5 months before the CAT, actual D-Day. So when, let's say, after 2 months, my usual daily routine was to give sectionals and to give maybe 2 mocks a week. So that was the point, and that was my strategy at this point in the time. And apart from this, there were many other things in my mind as well. So apart from CAT, I have also given various other entrance exams such as NMAT, SNAP, whatever. The people who are listening to this might be very familiar. Some of them are also be giving other exams as well to to like maximize their options. And so I was also parallelly working, preparing for these other exams, reading about what is their how the questions come and how what is the paper pattern and such. And apart from that, there are, I think, a few of the basically a few of the colleges have also opened their exam forms at this time. I think SPJM is one of the college that might or will be opening the their form this time. So I was also focusing on that also. And the other thing that I regularly did was to read about the other toppers of the past or other people who have aced these exams in the past. So Inside IIM is a very good source for that. So I usually daily, read some of the articles written by the last year's participants, or last year the toppers who aced the CAT, and so reading about their sectional strategies, their mock strategies. So that was my usual routine.
Got it. Nishanth?
Yeah, so during this time last year, I was actually filling the CAT form, of course. Jokes apart, the thing is that at this point of time, I had my joining, of course, in September it started. So I kind of was busy preparing for job, of course, because whenever you start a new job, you have to learn aspects of it. Apart from that, yes, I was definitely preparing for CAT. I was serious about it. I used to spend roughly 4 to 6 hours every day before I joined the job to prepare for CAT. I used to give mock on consistent basis. Yes, mock scores were not always, the best, and they always fluctuate. And at the same time, since I feel that till August and September end, we can work on our weaknesses. And VARC being my weaker section, I used to work a lot on it. I used to study articles. I used to wake up and read articles. I used to watch videos on topics like psychology, literature, and all, which are quite a popular topic in CAT exam. So I used to get familiar with that to help me better with get better with VARC. Apart from that, when I joined my job, things did get difficult because my job timings were like 3 a.m. to 2 p.m. That's Australian market. So yeah, at this point of time last year, yes, I was very much confident that I'm gonna work till the end for the CAT exam. I'm not gonna give up, because if you are truly a serious aspirant, you know that till the day is over, it's not over. So yeah.
Okay. So as you talked about mocks as well, so how I would want to ask you both that how many mocks did you take in total, and how many would you recommend the aspirants to take from now?
I had a broad strategy in my mind on how I will be going to attempt mocks and how I will be going, how I'll be spending these 5 months that I have in my hand when I started preparing for CAT. So initially, I checked how much I can score by giving. I think that was CAT 2017 paper, and to like how. So basically, first I wanted to know that where I stand among the competition, as this was my first CAT attempt only. I have never given CAT or never studied for it. So I scored a decent 91 percentile in judging from the where the marks versus percentile from that year. So I knew that I was equally scoring in all the three sections, but I knew that I need to work and I need to practice for the questions because I was taking more time for each question. So I developed a strategy in my mind that I will be purchasing two mocks. Two mock series. So I purchased the time and IMS mock series. And initially, when I used to also study the concepts of QA, DILR, practice DILR, etc., I used to give one mock per week for the initial, I think, 2.5 months. And then when I like all my concepts were ready and I did and as I was also working also. So once 2.5 months passed, I increased the frequency of my mocks and increased it to 2 mocks per week. So, and I also used to maintain an Excel sheet, how much marks I was scoring across the sections and how much percentage I was scoring. So to keep a track that am I increasing my performance or not. So when I'm looking at this Excel sheet, I think I have all in all given 35 mocks, like combined from both the two mock series that I have.
Okay. Nishanth?
Yeah, so I kind of exactly remember the number of mocks I had given, because this is something which is asked to me quite frequently. I gave around 45 to 50 mocks, and of course from both I took the same test as Somesh told, IMS and time. One thing I did during my mock test was that I actually increased the frequency towards the end, especially in October and November. Before that, since I had to adjust to my job timings, and also with job preparation, I was only able to give almost one, at max 2 mocks, and in general 1 mock per week. But one thing which I used to do more appropriately is, if I used to give mock for 2 hours, there used to be 2 hours papers, I used to analyze it for 4 to 5 hours. And in the mocks, whenever I used to like make a mistake, especially for quants and even DILR, I used to note it down where I made the mistakes, because in the end, I don't see mock as a final exam. I see mock as a way to learn. So I used to note down the mistakes I made so that I don't repeat it. And as October and November approached, I started giving. Now I had to pull up my socks, so I started giving 2 mocks per week, and definitely analyzing them did help me. So that was it.
Okay. We have a question from our audience. It says that my marks have recently been the lowest since April. So what can I do? Or if anyone would like to take it up.
Nishanth, will you like to take
Yeah.
it? Because you have given 2 CAT attempts. You might
Yeah.
be better familiar with it.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, yeah. Look, I would tell that mock scores, if they are low, it's fine. I mean, even to be honest, even my mock scores are not the best. I used to never score like 99 plus in AIMCAT or SimCAT. It used to hover around 95, 96, 97. What I would tell is that if you can learn from your mistakes, like suppose you're giving a mock, then if you're getting a low score, then look, why did you get low scores? It may be because of one particular section or one particular mistake you made. Like I'll tell you an example of DILR section, which I gave in October. I made one small error, and because of which I ended up getting the entire set wrong. So that can happen even the final day. But if you already made that mistake and you know that things can go wrong, and note it down the mistakes which you made, then it helps you. I mean, you should not worry about the mock scores. I mean, low mock scores, as long as you are learning from it, and try to be consistent. Like, yeah, I know it will fluctuate a bit, but if you can learn from your mistakes and develop slowly, it's like the tortoise race. Now, if you can slowly reach the topic, like put extra efforts on the topics which you are weak at, and then it will definitely help you.
So while giving mocks, did you used to have a target score in mind, or did you just focus on maximizing the scores? Oh, anyone?
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, Somesh, yeah.
Yeah. So basically, let's start from the point where Nishanth left the previous question. So, and what Nishanth told, that he used to write down all the mistakes that he is making in a particular mock, where what question he did wrong, what mistake in calculation or what mistake in choosing the set he did. So that's all he did. And basically, apart from that, I used to have a broad strategy in my mind as well. So during the 5 months that I had to give the mock for my CAT preparation, what I focused on is to have different strategies in my mind on how I'm going to attempt a particular mock. So strategies like whether I would be attempting RC first, then VA, or maybe DIE sets I would be doing later, LR I would be focusing first, or how to go about QA. So I basically what you can say, I tried various different strategies. So I used it as a training ground, the mock time, or the mocks that I used to give. And I used to juggle between various strategies, and I used to track them, like which strategy is working good or which strategy is working not good. So when the scores used to come out, if let's say I was like first let's talk about what is the range of mock scores that I was getting. So as I've told you, I started from a decent 91 percentile, but then there were some instances where I even dropped to as low as 80 percentile in few of the mocks. And I also scored 99.6 plus percent in various AIMCATs or SimCATs, as far as I remember. So, as I told you, I used to track what strategy and how much I scored when the results got announced. So that's how I knew that this will be the strategy. This is giving me better marks. So when I used to attempt a new mock that is coming, if I have some new strategy in my mind, I am going to try that. Or otherwise, if I do not have a new strategy in mind, I am going to stick to the strategy that is, giving me best returns or giving me the best mark. So there is no such thing in mind that I'm going to, I have a benchmark that I try to score 120 marks or something. There is no set benchmark. The mock season I used to, just test all the strategies that I have in mind. That was that.
Right. We have an audience question from Prashant. He's asking how to score in LRDI section. I was not able to solve even one set correctly.
Yeah, so I will try to answer this question. LRDI section is something which is more about practice. I think LRD is one thing which is either easiest to improve or the most difficult to improve, depending on how you take it, because it's all about practice. It's all about getting familiar with different sets. Like I can say the examples of like 4x4 Venn diagrams. Then there is this cubes which are colored and all. Then there is this linear numerical arithmetic LRs, which are quite frequently asked in CAT these days. So I would say that if you're feeling difficulty with LRDI, what you can do is start from the basics. Like you can start from the old CAT papers, because if you go back in the CAT papers of 1990s, 90s, they are very easy. That will give you a confidence, and then slowly you can get to the level of the first few years of CAT papers, like from 2015 onwards. I think they are available. So from then you can start seeing the pattern in which they are asked, and the more you practice, you get better at choosing. Like for example, I gave slot 2 exam in 21, and there were in slot 2 there were 3 easy sets, easy to moderate sets, and one very difficult set, or difficult I would say. So I ended up choosing the sets which were easier moderate, because I kind of knew by looking at them that they are this kind. I think this becomes very crucial, choosing the sets, because unless you're aiming for a 100% in DILR, you don't have to solve 4 sets. I solved 3 sets, got all the 14 questions correct, and scored 99.72 in DILR. So I think the more you solve, the more you practice DILR, the more you get familiar with the different kind of sets, and the more you know that whether the set is easy or not, and whether I should leave it or attempt it. So that I would say. And there is a YouTube channel where you can actually watch it. Anastasia Shankar, he actually uploads a lot of videos on DILR, so you can watch that. That will definitely help you. But I would say that for DILR, one thing that practice is the key. The more you practice, the better you get.
Right. Ankit Datta is asking us, as working professionals, how did you manage your prep with office, especially on weekdays? Somesh, you can take this up.
Right. So basically, I had a job which is a typical office job. The timings were basic typical 9 to 5 job. So what I used to do is that in the initial 1, 2, or maybe 2.5 months, when I started my CAT journey, I focused on learning the concepts from which I was not familiar, which I have forgot, because I graduated from college in 2019. So there were a few pure concepts which which I forgot, and I focused on improving my QA, learning all the concepts, reading various articles from VARC. So initial 2.5 months went on me learning new things or in that. And during that time, my strategy was to just attempt one mock per week after my office gets over, and once I arrive at home. So basically that was generally given on the weekends, either Saturday or Sundays. And maybe the other weekdays I used to analyze that mock. So let's say you are giving a 2-hour or 3-hour mock. So that was the key that I used to give on weekend. And on the weekdays, let's say, because as a working professional, you do not have a lot of time in hand. So I used to analyze one section each day, and other time I used to learn the new concepts. Once this period gets over and I have all the concepts in my mind, or I'm familiar with all the topics that are asked in the CAT, I increase my frequency to 2 mocks a week. So I used to give a mock on weekend, and I used to give a mock during the mid of the weekday, let's say on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, after the office gets over. And during my office, I used to give sectional in the lunch break. So VARC was particularly easy, not as per se easy for me, but it was easy to give as a sectional in the office, because you do not need a pen or a paper. So in a lunch break of 30 minutes or 40 minutes, however, how much it is on your office. So giving a VRC sectional, and so it can be doable for you. So how you can maximize the time that you have in your hand. And once you come home, what I used to do is that I give the other section that is remaining. So either QA or DILR. So that was my daily routine on weekdays. And on weekend, I already told you I gave one mock, and whatever the rest of the time that I have on hand, I used to analyze my mock. So that's how I used to maximize the time that I have with me.
Got it. You talked about analyzing the mocks, which a lot of cat toppers talk about. So how exactly do we analyze a mock? So if
Right.
both could throw light on that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So as I was finishing, I also forgot to talk about this one thing. So as I was working, so I had very less time in my hand also. So generally people recommend, or so you can see some other toppers also talking about that you should do all the questions that were in the mock again while analyzing the mock. So basically you may come up with the new strategy of doing a particular question, even though you got it right in the first place. But because I had less time, what I used to focus on only attempting those questions which I got wrong in the mock. So that's how I used to analyze. And so just by section wise, I used to see where I did my mistake in QA. And if I was not able to attempt a question, I used to do it and then match the solutions what are given. Same goes for DILR. I used to attempt the set that I could not do in the exam. And if I get it right during when I was analyzing, so that was one thing. And if I could not, I used to see the solution, and that goes for VARC also. That where I did the mistake. That was my analyzing strategy.
Got it.
Yeah, so yeah, in my case, basically, I used to divide the sections. Like, for example, I'll just give an example. Like, if the mock test was for 2 hours, I used to give the mock test. And then when the solutions used to come, I used to analyze for roughly 4 hours, because I believe that analyzing the mock becomes even more important than writing the mock, because then you get to know about your mistakes. VARC, if you see in the past few years, it has gone inference-based questions. They're probably following the pattern of, GMAT. So you have to learn to think about from author's point of view. So I used to like note down, like even for VARC, like for example, there used to be a mistake. I used to see like where did I do the mistake, how that specific point or the specific answer key is actually correct and not. There used to be video solutions, and then I used to also discuss with set of friends. Having a set of friends with same goal actually really helps in preparation. In fact, Somesh was also a part of my group. We prepared together. So yeah, we had a group of 10 people. If we had the name of BT group. So yeah, it's a good thing to have a group of people who have same goal. So it helps. You can discuss with your friends too, because you never know, they can come up with a better idea, and that can help you to actually learn from them. It's like a mutually additive thing which happens with DLR. As Somesh told, whenever we used to make mistake, we used to learn it, and the sets which we couldn't solve, we go and see the solutions, and then we try to find out, okay, this was the way. And for Q, as I already mentioned, whenever we do a mistake, just note it down, because you'll definitely know that that specific question can be solved in different ways. And that's how we move forward. I would say that if you give mock for 2 hours, then try to analyze it for more time, because that's how you improve. That's how you don't repeat the mistakes. And that's how you can actually improve your scores going forward.
Got it. So Miss asking us how to select the most doable set in DILR, and we can go section wise. So both of you can take each section. So starting with DILR.
Nishanth, would you want to take this question?
So can you just repeat the question a bit? Like
how to select the most doable sets, basically selection strategy.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, selection strategy in DILR. I would say, as I previously mentioned, that in DILR, if you don't, unless aim for 100%, it all comes down to the sets you choose. You don't have to. So I think this year 4 sets came in. You don't have to solve all the 4 sets. You might have to solve 2 sets to 3 sets depending on how much you're targeting. And how the targeting happens is when you solve a lot of questions. I mean DILR questions. Then, for example, I would say my case, I roughly solved around 400 to 500 sets from various mocks, from previous year CAT papers, from various YouTube channels. There are so many sets available from. So while solving them, I could actually realize that, okay, this set is something which can be difficult. And one thing which I did is, when the paper came, I just went through all the 4 sets in like 2.5 minutes, and I decided the order in which I'll attempt. Because, for example, in my case, games and tournament is my strength, and while solving DILR sets, people would know which specific topic is the strength or weakness. So I went and attempted games and tournament first, because it was my strength and I could do it. Same way, there are various sets where when you see it, you might like become uncomfortable. So it's better to avoid it first, because when you solve a first set, it gives you confidence, and that confidence is carried out throughout the paper. Because you might have heard people saying that my one section went bad and it got carried out to all the sections. So in the same case with DILR, become very choosy with sets. I would say, don't think of solving all the sets. And that can only happen if you practice a lot, practice on various mocks. There are and various other channels. More than 500 to 600 questions is what I would advise if you're targeting for 99 plus in DILR. So if you are good at choosing sections, it's fine. And one more thing I found with DILR was that mock scores in DILR do fluctuate, because the problem is that on one specific day you might end up choosing the wrong sets. It's fine. But the thing is that you learn from that, and just make sure that on the final day you get to choose all the right sets.
Right. Somesh, would you like to take VARC?
Yeah, sure. Just to add to Nishanth for DILR, I had one thing in my mind. So basically for QA, you can remember the formula, you can remember the shortcuts that are available. For DILR, it's a section where you can only learn from your experiences. So for somebody who is not able to score well in DILR, who's not able to choose the perfect set, I would say just don't leave your touch with DILR. Just do give sectionals every day for DILR, because that's how you can gather experience much faster, because only 3 months are remaining. So you need to develop that keen eye on how to, this set is something which I can easily solve, and this set I should leave just upon seeing it, because the time is limited, only 40 minutes you get. If you even you started solving a set and you spend 5 minutes on it, it is like huge chunk of a time is gone. So you really should develop that experience. And so coming to VARC, so there are the things that other people recommend. So for me, it was a bit different, because in my job, I had to go through very long pages of documents. So daily, I used to read maybe 50, 100, 150 pages of documents. So that was my job. So I developed the reading habit from there. But for somebody who had no such experience, or who had no such reading habit from other things, then you should really develop a reading habit. Maybe start from reading a newspaper in the morning, or maybe just go through sectionals, go through various passages that are available on the internet. Some people may recommend sources such as AEO and SS. So you can read those passages and maybe develop a reading habit. So by doing this, you will be able to read the passage faster. First thing is that, and then you will be able to make a summary on what the author is trying to say. That thing was also improved. So once you get those two things, the other thing is very logical in VARC. Once you just have to improve your speed, and the other things falls onto your logic. So whatever the questions are asked are basically logical only. So that was my strategy for VARC. Just develop a reading habit.
Got it. And what about QA? Anyone can take that up.
Sure. So I will take it.
Okay, sure.
Nishanth, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So I think for QA, I think I would say QA is the easiest for someone with mathematical background. I mean, to improve it, I would actually take it from people from non-mathematical point of view. Look, people think that QA is difficult, and indeed, if you don't have any maths background, it might seem difficult, because this year even slot 3 quant was difficult. So one way to improve quants is again practice, but along with practice, you have to note it down. Like I literally had a notes of almost 200 pages where I had like written down every mistake I had made in my mocks, and that actually helps. You write down, like for example, geometry was my weak section. So generally I used to make mistakes in geometry in mocks. So I used to note it down, like, okay, this was the way you could have solved this question. And I should note it down in my notebook. And same goes with every chapter. It's not that if a specific chapter is a strength, you'll be able to do all the questions. Again, in QA also, if you're non-mathematical background, you have to get choosy. You don't have to solve all the 22 questions which comes in the exam. Just see the questions which you're comfortable with, because quants, when you see the question, you generally have an idea whether you know it or don't know it. Don't spend so much time on a specific question. I follow the 30 seconds rule. Like you see a question, and in the first 30 seconds, if you get an idea, if you have a clear idea of how you have to approach this question, then go for it. Because in the end, time is limited. CAT is all about not just about aptitude test, it's also about time management. So in fact, in my paper, I solved around 14 questions, and I got 15 questions, and I got 14 of them right. And the other 7 questions, I could leave the 7 questions in just a matter of 30 seconds by looking at them. So I think, sorry, leaving the questions becomes important at the same time as choosing the questions. And that can come only when you're well aware of your strengths and weakness, and how you have practiced and noted down all the important formulas and all the important concepts.
Right. Adding one thing for QA is that a major mistake that many candidates do is that because they are taught something like this, or maybe what they do is they follow a shortcut approach, or they maybe just learn the shortcuts that are there. They learn the formulas that are there. But what can happen is that you should only do that once you are familiar with a question that you can do without formula, or with applying the basic rules that are there for. So what happened in the last year CAT is that I was in the slot 3 where the QA was relatively tough, and all the questions were literally those questions where you cannot apply any shortcut, where you cannot apply any of the shortcut or any of the formulas that were that can be there, and you need to solve all the questions from the basic approach that is there. So that was one thing where most of the candidates do that mistake, who so just learn the shortcuts once you are familiar with the basics. That's all.
Sure. A lot of aspirants ask us that we have not yet completed our CAT syllabus. So should we focus on mocks, or should we wait till we complete the syllabus? So what would you say on that?
Right. So what as I already explained my strategy. So for me, this was my first CAT attempt. So what I did is, initially I divided my preparation in two separate halves. So for the first half, I also tried to cover up the syllabus in what I can say covering up the syllabus means. So basically QA is the only thing where we have a well-defined syllabus in CAT. For VARC and DILR, there is no such syllabus. So for QA, I used to learn the concepts for the first half, and for VARC and DILR, I used to read, or DLR to use to practice. And for during that time, I used to attempt less number of mocks per week, and I also used to attempt very less sectionals, because I was focusing on developing my concepts. And once I did that, I increased my frequency. For the students who are saying that they have not yet completed their syllabus, it is very fine to because there are still 3 months remaining, and maybe you can spend 15 days or maybe 1 month more to complete that syllabus, but do not just focus on that. Start giving mocks parallelly, maybe once a week or maybe twice a week if you have that time, and also start doing sectionals as well, because this is how you know that what is your performance among the crowd. So the people who are really focusing on giving CAT this year have already started giving mocks by this time. So by giving a mock, this is the only way that you can judge your performance among the crowd that is there.
Right. And
adding to what,
you can, yeah.
So adding to what Somesh told, I gave as my example itself. I didn't complete the syllabus by now. I completed my syllabus in September end, and then I started. But the one thing I did was I used to still give mocks. I mean, don't completely ignore mocks, as Somesh told. Give mocks, maybe less frequently, but do give it. You'll know where you stand. And it's totally fine if you have not completed the syllabus. You still work on your weaknesses. You have time, so you don't have to worry much about it. So yeah.
Got it. So a lot of aspirants have asked us, and they usually ask us is that my mock scores are stagnating and not rising beyond a certain point. So how do we overcome that stagnation?
So I would take this question. Mock scores, as I previously mentioned, mock scores actually don't reflect, everything. You don't have to worry about that. Even there was a point of time where my mock scores had stagnated to a specific point, like it was around 94, 95 percentile, and it used to even go below below that. So if it is stagnating, it's okay, as long as you're not seeing a big dip in your mock scores. I think one thing you can do is look at the things, like, for example, every time you give a mock, definitely you would see that some specific sections goes wrong. So just see where you went wrong, try to learn from it, and in the next mock, go and try to improve on that. Like, for example, if you made a mistake in a geometry question today, so in the next mock, that question should not be wrong, because if it is wrong, then it means you're not learning. So the same thing goes. If you're repeating the mistakes again and again, then that is wrong. But if you're learning from the mistake, it's fine. Every time you make a mistake in mock, take it as a learning opportunity. Don't worry about the mock stagnation. If you learn from your mistakes, eventually it will improve. I think CAT is also about being patient. In the end of the day, if you are working hard and you are doing your effort, then I believe that on the D-Day, if with some luck, of course, you will be eventually able to do well. So don't worry about the mock scores. Treat mock as a learning experience and not as something to judge yourself. That would help you then.
Since Nishanth has given an overall perspective, I would like to break this question into the different sections that are there. So for VARC, so first thing, all participants, all candidates, what they need to do is to maintain an Excel sheet so what are the scores that they are scoring, write that down, the scores, the percentile, and make it section wise also. And for VARC and DLR, what you should do is break it into VA and RC and DI and LR. And for QA, what you can do is write how many questions you attempted and how many you got wrong and how many you got right. So just make an Excel of all of this stuff. And so for VARC, what you can do is just check whether you are performing good in RC or whether you are performing good in VA. Because what we have psychologically developed over the time is that everybody starts with doing RC. Most of the candidates start with doing RC, and what they feel is that they are doing very good in RC. But before you back that decision with the data you have in your Excel sheet, you should not conclude that. So just for VARC, my advice is that just look what is your strong section, RC or VA, and then do accordingly do that in the next mock. For DILR, similar thing, DI and LR, and also the experience that you have developed by attempting all those mocks. So that will also help in DILR. And for QA, basically just look at what are the accuracy that you have been occurring over all these mocks. So let's say you are attempting 20 questions in QA, but you are only getting 15 right. That means you are not selecting the good questions, or you are not selecting the doable questions that you are familiar with. So you have to improve on accuracy in the QA. So that was my strategy, and that was my break-even plan for all the 3 sections that are there. So that's how you can improve slightly in each of the section, and you can improve your mock scores that way.
Sure. We have a question. I get nervous while taking the mocks, but I'm able to solve the questions later while I'm analyzing them. So how do you overcome the test anxiety, basically? Anyone can take this.
Yes, so I would take this. Yeah, I mean, nervousness is something which, of course, we all have when we begin the test, whether it's mock test or even the actual exam. I would say that when you're nervous, it's fine. I mean, you don't take that too much into your heart. Like, okay, if this goes bad, everything wrong will go. It's fine. I mean, you say when you attempt a paper, you attempt it. Especially, I'm telling about, I'll give perspective of both mock and CAT. In mock, when you attempt a paper, take it as a learning experience where you can make mistakes, but you can still learn. And when you go for the final exam, when CAT, don't take CAT as the end of everything. That would put pressure on your head. Oh my God, if something goes wrong, then मुझे ये नहीं होगा, मेरे साथ वो नहीं होगा. Don't put so much pressure. As long as you're calm in the exam. I know it's the calm word is not easy to say. I mean, not easy to get. You only get it with experience. Don't put everything on CAT. I mean, you know that it's just a paper, and try to give it in that way for the final exam. And for mocks, don't take it as something like mocks may come at confidence. It's fine. I mean, it's okay. Mocks will always fluctuate. So don't worry too much on that thing, because you get nervous when you're worried a bit, when you're worried about the outcomes of it. Don't worry about the outcome. Think about what you can learn from the specific mock test. And on the final day, as I mentioned, just stay calm. Don't put all the X on the CAT exam. It's just a paper. And if you're calm and good enough, if your practice is good enough, you're going to do well.
So adding to that, while giving mocks, should one focus more on the attempts or the accuracy? Because as you said, that mock scores don't really matter. So should they attempt the questions in mocks, or should they not, fearing negative marking?
So on this question, actually, I would tell one thing. I mean, I would break this question into 3 parts. Like for DILR and Quants, I would say very, very importantly, the focus should be on accuracy, because every question you choose in DILR and Quants, you know that you are spending time on it. And when you spend more than 2 to 3 minutes of time, you are committing so much time, you have to get it right. I believe that DILR and Quants becomes more of an accuracy game. Like, for example, let's take an example. A person who's attempting 15 questions and gets 10 right, he's getting 25 marks. But a person who's attempting just 12 questions, gets all 12 right, he's getting 36 marks. So you see the difference of accuracy, what it brings to the table. For VARC, I would tell accuracy definitely is important, but I would, even who are people of serious assessment, would know that VARC is something where you can't be 100% accurate unless you have some god level or something. So in VARC, try to maximize your attempts, because that can actually help you. But maximizing the attempt doesn't mean that you just randomly guess it, because you have 4 options. Probability doesn't help you that much. So VARC, I would say it's not always about accuracy, it's also about number of attempts. So as Somesh mentioned earlier, in VARC, if your reading speed is good, you will be able to attempt more. But for Quants and DILR, be very choosy with the questions, because there you're committing time to it and you want to maximize your attempts with good accuracy.
Right. Adarsh Kumar is asking us, can we go with sectionals for 1 month and then go full length mock for the last 2 months? Do you think this is a good strategy?
Okay, so what can happen in sectionals? First thing is that a very less number of candidates give section. That is the one thing that I want to put forward. From what I remember from my past experience, that maybe only 2,000, 2,500, these are the candidates that give sectionals usually. And the thing is that the sections are not designed for how the actual CAT paper would be. So it is very important that you give sectionals to practice and to give mocks to practice how you'll be performing the actual CAT exam. So sectional you should give to judge whether. So let's say you have learned some few concepts in QA during the last week. So you should now give a sectional to practice the concept that you have learned. And you should also give mocks parallelly as well. So you can judge your performance in all of the serious aspirants that you will be competing with during the actual CAT exam. So giving both parallelly is very important. You should not give sectional, just give sectionals and then you give mocks.
Right. So now I would like to ask you both that share if there was something which you think you did different from others.
Can you just repeat your, I think net got disconnected a bit.
Okay, just a second. Yeah, I was asking that anything special that helped you, which usually other aspirants don't do. It can be about preparation or mock taking, anything.
There was one thing that I also wanted to highlight during the previous question that was asked by one candidate. So that was regarding that I think she was not able to get herself calm during the mock.
Right.
So what I used to do is, I know this may sound a little bit weird, but what I used to do that there are some 1 or 2 page instructions while you start the. So there are maybe 10, 20 pointers that are written that you should do, and this is how the scoring will be. For every mock that I gave after a period of time, I used to just go through all the points that are written there, because that way when I was reading those points, I know that I have by heart by reading them maybe 20, 25 times till now. But then it can get you calm. So because what people usually do is that let's say I have to give a mock at 3 p.m. They just come, open their laptop, sit in front of that at 3 p.m. and just start giving the mock like that only. But this way you will you will be not in your best focus during the maybe first 10 or 15 minutes. So this strategy helped me a bit. I used to read all the instructions that were given so that I can calm my mind during that time, and then I used to start my mock.
That's very interesting. Nishanth, if you would want to share something.
I was on mute. So I think I did one thing very differently than, I mean, I won't say differently. Maybe there are some people who do it. As I mentioned earlier, VARC was my weaker section. Like when I gave CAT 2020, I scored 69.4% in VARC. Of course, that was not much with preparation, but still, I mean, that was quite low. So I kind of knew that, because I'm never a reader. I was never a book reader. I have never studied novels and all. So I think people who actually have done this, they would relate to this answer. And someone who wants to improve VARC. I realized one thing, that VARC is something which is moving more towards GMAT side, inference based. So for improving that, there is a YouTube channel called Crash Course. You can note it down. I mean, on that channel, you can find topics and videos of various things: geography, literature, art, psychology, and everything. And I used to, like, whenever I used to have dinner or when I used to go out, maybe traveling while going to the office, I used to just binge watch it. And that used to be like a productive thing, because I used to learn few things. Like now, if you talk about Sigmund Freud analysis of psychology, this all thing, something which comes in RCs quite often. And I would say, if you know about specific topic, for example, if an RC comes on cricket and you already know so much about cricket, then you'll be able to easily comprehend it and get the author's point of view. So that is why knowing the topic becomes a little bit important, because in today's CAT paper, they ask more about from author's point of view. How can you inference this? How can you inference that? Which of the following cannot be true and all. So they don't go on pinpoint basis objective questions. They ask more on how you are implementing the entire passage. So for that, I think you have to learn a bit about the specific topics, and that will actually help. Either as Somesh told, reading habit can help, or this is the other way. I mean, this is my way, which I told I did differently for VARC. And by the way, don't take it like too hard. I'm not a big 99% in VARC. It's something for someone who are trying to improve VARC, who are struggling with VARC. I'm a typical engineer. So yeah, that's one thing I did differently.
Right. You said this was your second attempt, right? So can you share your percentile in your last attempt, VARC?
Yeah, so my VARC percentile in 2020 was 69.4, and this year I scored 97.83 percentile. So yeah, I mean,
So this strategy worked, so we can.
So this strategy definitely worked for me, and hopefully, if anyone wants to improve, it will work for you for sure.
Right. So now, any final tips which you would want to give to our aspirants for the last 3 months? Somesh, you can start.
Okay. Yeah. So there is one major thing that I would like to highlight is having a peer group. So many aspirants that will be giving CAT, they know that groups like SimCAT 2023 or 20 whatever this year would be 2022, or maybe AIMCAT 2022, just like exists on Telegram. But the groups are very crowded. Maybe there are maybe more than 2,000 to 3,000 people on that. So just know somebody who will be giving CAT this year with you, either from that group or just what my point I was trying to make is that just make a group of a few number of people, maybe 10, 15, 20, or maybe even 5. There is no such restriction on that. But having a group, as Nishanth said earlier, with having a same goal helps you very much. It also helps you benchmark whether you are improving or not, whether your peers are improving or not. And it also gives a sense of competition that you will be getting in the actual exam. If you are preparing alone, then just giving mocks, but there is no sense of competition. There is no sense of performance pressure or something like that. But when you are having a peer group who have the same goal and who are serious about preparing, who are serious about giving CAT this year, helps you very much. So for us, as Nishanth already told, we are also a part of the same group, and there are various other groups available, or you can make yourself one. So that is one major tip that I want to do.
Right, Nishanth.
Yeah, so as Somesh told already, I would totally agree with him. Adding on to that, there are two things I would say. Since there are 3 months left, the exam is approaching. First thing first is that when you give mocks, especially towards the end, your mock scores might fluctuate a bit because the number of aspirants become lower, like just 6,000, 7,000. So what happens is your mock scores might go down. And that is a time when you have to be strong enough to not too much worry about it. I would say just put enough effort till the end, because in CAT, I believe that not every one of the 2 lakh aspirants actually even study till the end. Many people actually give up by seeing the low mock scores. They're like, mere se nahi hoga yaar, everyone is scoring more than me. But that is not it. You don't know the power of never giving up. I think it was this something I said, like 0.99 power, 100 is, 0, and 1.01 power 100 is something beyond, 200 or something. So I think putting effort every day would be very, very important. And I think stay till the end, the last 3 months. I mean, try to give your best. And when you give your best, at the end of the day, you won't regret that you didn't give your best. So stay calm. Don't worry about the mock scores. Keep learning from them. And at the end of the day, don't give up, because if you don't give up, you never know, the lady God would help you in the final exam. So yeah.
There is one more thing that I wanted to highlight about the mocks as well. So I already told that I had subscribed 2 mocks, but so every candidate who is in the same boat right now should subscribe to 2 mocks to get an idea on how different coaching set up different papers, so that you just don't just get carried away with one kind of questions that one coaching is used to set. So for me, by researching about in the groups or by taking advice from the peers that are giving, you get to know that which of the mocks are going good this year and the questions are relatively good. The coaching is setting for us basically IMS and time were the coaching that were setting very good mocks last year. This thing might have changed this year or might not have changed, so you should research yourself and just take mocks from 2 different coaching. And the other thing is that apart from giving mocks, you can also give past year CAT papers as mock, but don't just give them right now. So basically what happens is that the mocks are generally on a relatively tougher side than the actual CAT exam. So what you should do when you are feeling demotivated or feeling a bit low by seeing your low mock scores in the papers that are set by the coaching, then you can use that CAT actual exams as a lifeline. So who have given CAT last year papers as mocks, will know what I mean by that. So what will happen is that the CAT exams are generally relatively slightly straightforward and easier than the mocks. So when you give and when you score high on that, you will feel motivated. That's the point that I want to drive here. So when you feel demotivated, you just give the last year CAT exam at that time, and do not use all lifelines right now, because you will definitely need these lifelines at the end of your journey when the actual CAT is approaching. So what I did is that I left 2 of my actual CAT exams in the month of November, and as far as I remember, I think I gave one actual CAT 2021 ka paper on 15th of November, I think, and one in the next week. So that got me really motivated and really, boosted up for the actual exam, and I was able to perform really well in the actual CAT exam.
Right.
So that was my 2 cents.
Got it. So thank you, Somesh and Nishanth, and thank you to our audience for joining us. I hope this webinar was very helpful for your preparation. We will soon come up with more such webinars, so please stay tuned and subscribe to our channel so you stay updated. Thank you so much for joining us. Goodbye.